is Dr. Anacleto Belleza Millendez, the founder of the Beautiful Heart Foundation and the host producer of the Beautiful Heart Show at KFVT 15 Silicon Valley Community Media. Today I'm very pleased to meet a very intelligent lady. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please introduce a little bit of your background for our viewers' purposes.
Okay, so my name's Carolyn, and really my background was in interior design and building and construction. But I had an experience when I had moved to Italy in 1999, seeing Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper.
Wow.
And it was right at the eve of the millennium, 1999, and like all countries, they had celebrations planned. So Leonardo's Last Supper had gone through a 25-year restoration and was now going to be open to the public. You know, it was doomed from the beginning, the Last Supper. Leonardo had used this fangled new fresco technique, and so it started crumbling within his lifetime. So they spent 25 years for this restoration, and frankly, I was not really into Leonardo da Vinci. I mean, I knew who he was, but it was just because of the celebration, and my friends from the States were visiting, and they wanted to see Leonardo's Last Supper. Frankly, I thought, the postcard was going to be good enough,
Yes.
and I was waiting to, where I was going to eat lunch that day.
Yeah, well, we had the opportunity of visiting the Louvre Museum in 2001, to be exact, April 2001. My youngest daughter was barely 1 year old, and we were able to see those works of Leonardo da Vinci there.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that you spent more time of his this artwork. But I know during my college days, because I took up AB Humanities for my pre-med, we've been taught so many, great artworks from the East, from the West. So part of Leonardo's work, we were able to criticize somehow.
Yeah.
Now, what made you is there a connection between your academic background and your work?
No, what had happened that day, like I was saying, my friends were visiting from the States. And like I said, I thought the postcard was plenty. But
Okay.
anyway, to be cordial, I went. And something happened to me seeing Leonardo's Last Supper. I mean, it's difficult to language what happened, but if I could, I was there. I was there when, Leonardo's Last Supper is a moment of action. It's when Jesus says to one of his disciples, "One of you is going to betray me." And I was there. I mean, and so when I left, I'm like, well, who is this Da Vinci guy? And I thought I could get a book, get my explanation, and I'd be on my merry way. Well, that did not happen. And I kept pursuing it, looking for an explanation to this experience that I had. And then I started going down a rabbit hole.
So from the Last Supper, then the Mona Lisa and
Yeah.
some other pieces there.
Well, what had happened was when I moved back to the States, what I realized, I was not, the first person that was into Leonardo da Vinci. There's a whole library at UCLA dedicated to Leonardo. And you quickly learn that every century, every nationality, every language has written about this one man. Now, unfortunately, I didn't know what I was looking for because I just had an experience. So I would go through the catalog. I would look at titles, that interest me, thinking, like I remember seeing a dissertation, Leonardo's 13 Dissections Looking for the Soul. I thought, that's it. I'm going to read this. It's going to give me my explanation, and I could stop.
Wow.
But I did not get my explanation until I discovered the Mona Lisa knot. And then whatever had glommed onto my soul that day that at the Last Supper left me, and then curiosity set in.
Wow.
Why did Leonardo make up this intricate pattern on the Mona Lisa? And that started another 10-year journey.
But the pattern, is it consistent with the Last Supper as well?
The knot that he uses in the Last Supper is no, it's not consistent. It's a knot of antiquity. So in the beginning of his career, he uses, like other artists, Giotto, Raphael, knots of antiquity.
So in other words, the Last Supper is the early part of his work.
Right, 1490 is when he started that, where the Mona Lisa, he starts that in 1503. So within those 13 years, that's really his launching off time, where he starts, we'll find all his knot art will be original. But for the Last Supper, he uses a knot of antiquity called the knot of Isis. Knot of Isis has always been associated with we'll find it in hieroglyphics. So that's how old that particular knot is. And it's always been associated with a female goddess. And its sacred meaning is the binding and releasing.
So with the Last Supper, it's more of a divine work, I think. While Mona Lisa, he transitioned from that kind of pattern.
Yeah, well, it always has a spiritual connection, and the theme that runs through all of them is representing the whole. Like when we see the Last Supper and we have 13 men, we have that grounder of one female entity. So again, the whole. When we look at the Mona Lisa, a female, when we look at the pattern and that anomaly of the 3 hexagons in the center, in sacred geometry, that would represent male. 3 male, 2 female. So what we'll see consistently in his work is he always wants to represent the whole.
Yeah, but you're referencing to a woman there in the Last Supper, and I thought that all the people around him during the Last Supper were all his apostles.
Well, they are. So they're all
but
male.
you mentioned about a woman there.
I'm the representing of the knot.
The knots.
The knot. It's a very. For some reason, I don't know why anybody. It's so obvious once I point it out to you. So it's on the lower right-hand side of the tablecloth. And it's a very. It's it's not in the shadows. It's not hidden. It's front and center. It's in the lower right-hand corner of the tablecloth, and it's a very specific knot that he ties in that tablecloth.
Wow. And let's talk more about the Last Supper.
Okay.
Yeah, because in the Philippines, you cannot see a home without an image of the Last Supper in their dining area.
Yeah.
Whether it's a wood carving, a painting, a picture, there will always be a Last Supper. And what are your thoughts about the Last Supper in the modern times?
Well, I know there's been a big when the Da Vinci Code came out, and there was a lot of hoopla that was very controversial between theologians and the public, and his storyline, Dan Brown's storyline, was that John, sitting to the right hand of Jesus, was Mary Magdalena.
That's what they presumed.
They presumed that, but I always wondered why there wasn't somebody in the Leonardo da Vinci camp that also addressed it. Because if we look at Leonardo leaves preliminary drawings for the Last Supper. We have several preliminary drawings. And he's very keen on writing which apostles he's sketching in his notebooks. And clearly he writes John. So him as an artist should have been represented on what he was bringing forth. I realize he has John look a little effeminate.
Okay, and John was the one closest to him.
Was very close to him. And if you read in the Bible, it also mentions John is an effeminate looking in the Bible.
That's exactly why he would...
That's why he would have drawn him in that style. And then also, Jesus entrusted John with his mother. Right when he is being crucified, he asks John to take care of his mom. So that, they were, I'm sure he wouldn't say he had a favorite apostle, but John was I would say, very close to him. And close enough that he would entrust his mom with him.
What you're saying now really inspired me to look at my faith that was somehow damaged with the Da Vinci Code. The idea that it was Mary Magdalene beside Jesus, and the presumption that maybe Jesus had a relationship with her.
Well,
So,
not based on the artist.
not based on the artist.
Dan Brown fabricated this story, wove a very interesting storyline.
Right.
I could see exactly why it happened or how he came up with that.
Yeah.
But if we're looking at the artist, Leonardo da Vinci, and his preliminary drawings, and he clearly tells us every apostle in his preliminary drawings, we know that, he is following what was found in the Bible.
So between these two artists, the modern, the Da Vinci Code, and the Leonardo da Vinci's version of the Last Supper, we should see more truth in what Leonardo did.
Absolutely, because he worked very meticulously on that. Now, when the Restoration happened, mind you, that in his lifetime it was already deteriorating, and it took Carmen Brambilla, she was the restorer, 25 years. It was centimeter by centimeter to reduplicate that fresco.
Wow.
Which is housed at Santa Maria della Grazia in Milan, which would have been a refractory. These Last Suppers were always put into the refractory where the clergy would be eating.
Yeah, but then there were some other artists who were also doing. They were also doing the Last Supper, right?
Well, like in Florence, there's like 7 Last Suppers that start like from the 1400s all the way to the 1500s. And in fact, when I was trying to figure out what had happened to me, this unexplainable experience I had seeing Leonardo's, I did a whole study going back to Florence and looking at every Last Supper that had ever been done, because I knew Leonardo would have seen those Last Suppers.
Wow.
But his is completely different. He has Judas on, everyone's sitting on one side of the table. A lot of the other ones in Florence, Judas will be separated and be sitting on the other side of the table.
Right.
But or with halos, so Leonardo's is definitely a moment of action, and you really feel it when you're there. Like I described, you feel you're in that room, a fly on the wall that gets to experience that moment, that important moment that we all know.
Yes.
When Jesus says, "One of you will betray me."
Yes. But a few years ago, I encountered one famous Filipino painter who was also inspired to do the Last Supper, and it's more of presenting the Last Supper with the poor, malnourished children beside Jesus. So the intention maybe is to present the reality in the Philippines that we are so poverty-stricken, food is so scarce, we have so much malnutrition, and children are mostly affected. So this is his way of presenting Last Supper.
And exactly, and when you see the other ones in Florence, each different one, depending on who was the patron, it all changes. One you'll see like a dog, eating something like a little crumb of bread. It really depended on who was the patron and who it was for. And so that makes total sense on the way you'll depict it in the Philippines.
Yes, and I have not seen a version of a Mona Lisa painted by a Filipino painter, but the Last Supper is one of those like an inspiration for most painters as well. But now, what is this? We focus more on the book.
Okay.
It's more of this is it touching solely on Mona Lisa or?
Actually, no, it's just one chapter. Another chapter will be, there was a very famous controversy happened 2 years ago. There was a painting that came on the market called Salvator Mundi, Jesus, Savior of the World. And they were able to authenticate it, and it sold for a whopping $450 million at auction in 2017. Now, I worked with a not mathematician that, and what to simplify what a not mathematician, believe it or not, there's a division of math called not math.
Okay.
And so what a not mathematician is looking for is just the intersection of lines, over, under, or like a basket weave.
Yeah.
So with my collaboration with this not mathematician, we actually plotted the knots on the Salvador Mundi, this painting that sold for 450 million. See, unlike...
But I've never heard of this work. It's just either you hear of the Mona Lisa or you hear of the Last Supper.
Yeah.
But this was an interesting art piece then, huh?
It really, on this minuscule level of Leonardo's work,
Wow.
we definitely see the workmanship of a genius.
Wow.
And it wasn't a willy-nilly afterthought.
Uh-huh.
He thinks of these knot crossings years and years in advance. He develops them and he integrates them, and they're very important. And they are like his thumbprint. That's what you
Wow.
realize. And no copyist has ever successfully been able to copy them.
So from these art pieces brought you to kind of mathematical field?
Totally. I mean, and for somebody that practically, didn't do that good in math,
Yeah.
I'm sure my high school math teacher would be blowing his mind right now.
But in brief, what did you discover?
I discovered that Leonardo, these are his thumbprint. And just like you and I,
Wow.
our thumbprints are unique. They're
Yes.
only unique to me, and they're only unique to you. And these are Leonardo's thumbprint, and he leaves them on his paintings.
Very interesting because, as I've said, during my college years, we analyzed, we made critiques of these artworks, but there was no mention like what you're sharing now. And this is very interesting to art students as well.
I agree. I mean, and people are always have this same, wonderment. And all I could tell you is, I'm a fruit farmer's daughter from San Jose, California. And for some reason, I was the one that discovered it or realized it, that it had some kind of significance.
Wow.
So I don't know. It was just maybe for me to find.
Yes, that's why I'm so interested of getting a platform for you to share this information to others, and hopefully our Department of Education in the Philippines will pave the way to share this knowledge of Leonardo da Vinci's work. And what's really inspiring is the divine part of his work that really that Filipinos could relate to it. We're very religious. We're, we look at the Last Supper as a sacred work. So, what do you think about that?
Well, let's take Leonardo's background. He really wasn't set up for a path of success. He was born out of wedlock.
Wow.
Therefore, he was never going to get a formal education. And he writes it in his notebooks. He says, "Sono un uomo senza lettere." I'm a man without letters. And that had a big consequence. He's never going to be a lawyer like his father and grandfather. He's never going to be a mathematician like his best friend and mentor Luca Pacioli, who was the most famous mathematician at the time. And yet, he had this desire to learn about every subject under the sun, including the sun.
Wow.
And so with that kind of humble background, that, he realized it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor or titled or educated or not. Everyone has the opportunity to transform into something more beautiful. And he knew that, and that was his message. And I think for knowing that, and knowing that today we not only celebrated his 500th anniversary of his death, and that's a big deal in this day and age where, we are very fickle. For every 15 minutes, we're on to a new subject, right?
Yes, and talking about 500 years, the Philippines will also celebrate our 500 years of Catholicism in 2021. To be
Yes.
exact, March 31, 2021 would be the 500 years of the first Holy Mass in the Philippines.
That's
And
spectacular.
that is also a good time for you to present a sacred work, the Last Supper, in connection with
Yeah.
our celebration of 500 years
I
of
think that'd
Catholicism.
be fantastic. What an opportunity that would be.
Yes,
To
and
be part of that
I
celebration.
am interested to touch your book you're holding.
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
This is the one that I have seen if I Google you.
Uh-huh.
So at first I was thinking, what's Leonardo's nuts there? So it talks about
Uh-huh.
his work. Wow! And this is available in the bookstores.
I'm in Books Inc., but mostly online, Amazon, or through my website, Leonardo's Knots.
And maybe when you go to the Philippines or some other events in the future, you will do some kind of book signing.
Absolutely.
Sure,
That would
and
be really fun.
yeah, and I am inviting the members and officers of the San Jose Silicon Valley Global Lions Club. I am the president of that organization. That maybe towards the end of my term in June, we will invite you, probably at the studio of KNVT 15,
Okay.
to share this information again. And I'm sure they will appreciate this new new discoveries that not too many would know.
You know what? Fun thing I want to say too is everyone knows Star Wars. Okay, so when George Lucas did Princess Leia with the buns, that's a Leonardo da Vinci preliminary
Oh.
drawing of Leda and the Swan.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to show it to the camera really quick.
Is it the one with curly hair?
Yes,
Wow.
it's just, and that's where George Lucas got it from, right here. So these are
so
these
the,
have been
the braids is also another part
yeah,
of
so
the
right
braiding
here,
of the hair.
these
Wow.
were Leonardo did all these preliminary drawings, and right here, these are the buns.
Wow. Wow.
So his work
Wow.
goes,
Very beautiful.
I know, goes all the way through.
Wow.
So we've lost, of course, Leda and the Swan of Leonardo's, but these were his contemporaries. And see, they do, here are the buns,
yeah,
the buns.
Wow.
And that's
I
what
would, I
George.
would call them braids. Like
Yes.
Yeah.
And
not to-
look at every artist does a different hairdo. So
Yeah.
we've lost Leonardo, so we don't know exactly.
And that's the thing that I don't see anymore. Too much of braiding among women or girls nowadays.
I mean, look at this one preliminary drawing. Now, who would bother doing an eternity knot on the back of the hair? That
Wow.
he's never going to paint the back of her hair.
So
But yet-
see, so detailed.
But look at
Wow.
every knot crossing has been delineated.
Oh, okay, that's the way you do also with hair, right? You kind of weave.
Well, this is all Leonardo's work.
Wow.
These were all his preliminary. Now, I've reworked them for the
Wow.
book.
Wow.
So you could, we were very clear on what were the knot crossings.
Now.
But look at this one here, how intricate. It
you
looks
know,
like a basket weave.
For some reason, the weaving had been a very important, especially the Philippine weaving.
Absolutely.
There was a time when former Senator Nicky Cositeng did some book tour and sharing of our own traditional Philippine weaving. So I don't know if there's a connection, like like the way our old weavers would do it. And
It'd be so
something
fantastic
to
to see,
look at.
to re-look at it with a new set of eyes now.
Yes.
Now that I've brought this to the
Yes, that's
forefront.
another one that would trigger, our weaving industry to flourish again, because most of, that's exactly what the former senator was doing, to bring back the interest in our traditional Filipino weaves.
And you will see that in every culture, these knot crossings in basket weaving, we all have,
Even in our hammock from the bamboos and
Right.
yeah.
it's such a integral part of our lives.
Wow. Now that I realize this has really a deeper meaning. It's just that you started it, the interest,
Like, for instance, another anomaly was in 400 AD. There was a knot known as Solomon's knot, and it's two spheres, one vertical, one horizontal, and it crosses 4 times. That just popped up simultaneously. Rock carvings, mosaic flooring. We'll find it in Italy. We'll find it in Jerusalem. But what's the interesting part for me is that it doesn't matter which religion it was. The sacred meaning of the Solomon's knot was always the same. It's the connection between God and man. And so these are deeper rooted meaning, and like the octagon, we find that in every religion, from Christianity to Muslim. So these symbols run through all humanity, all religions. And it's kind of what binds us, like a knot, what binds us all together.
I think so. That's the key there. The knots would bind us together. Yes. And talking about knots, I remember my mother was a dressmaker, and she would do us beautiful dresses. And when I was on my medical school, I think on my last year of medical school, we were taught the basic of suturing. Somehow suturing also involves knots.
Absolutely.
See?
Yeah.
For you to put back together a part of the body that has been cut or excised, then you do kind of suturing, and in doing that, the principle of the knots is also very important.
And what I find too is that everyone is their own creator, and they make a decision whether that line goes over or under. So next time you're going to lace up your shoes, you're going to hold 2 strings in your hand.
Yes.
And you're going to start a sequence.
Yes.
And you will make a decision whether you go over or under, and then it'll cross 3 times. And when you pull it, you've done your first mathematical knot.
That's basic also in suturing.
Right.
Yeah. I bet our viewers are in the medical profession can relate to this as they do surgery, and then as they suture the wounds, and oh my God, there's that idea of knots.
Right, and you will now think about it. You will the moment you start that sequence, you're going to figure out whether you went over or under.
That's exactly always what we were taught in surgery.
Yeah.
You can even do like underneath to keep the nuts from showing outside.
Right, and you will be the determining person to make that beginning sequence.
Yes.
Whether you do that line over or under.
That's the art part of medicine for us.
Yes.
To make sure that the scars will not be very visible as you do your suturing there, especially in the area of the face, making sure that the nuts are properly tied.
Yes.
And that there will be no chance of gaping. So this is really very interesting that we talk about Leonardo's work, but there's a deeper meaning of it.
There definitely is.
Yeah. And before we close, I would like you to say your last words, and hopefully our friends will be very excited to see you in person in the next couple of months.
It'd be my pleasure. It would be so great.
Yes.
Well, I just think it's a great opportunity that I get to share Leonardo's work on this minuscule scale. And, and on this minuscule scale, you will also see the workmanship of a genius.
Yes, definitely one of the greatest artists in the world.
In the world.
Yes, and we are so happy, and I am personally so honored to meet you. I think God paved the way for this.
I think so too, and I'm very grateful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, and see you in the Philippines.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.